Welcome to Educate Us, a podcast and learning collective that explores the questions shaping education. Through conversations with educators, researchers, scholars, students, and community members, we examine the relationship between learning and lived experience. Together, we explore new possibilities for education and its role in the world around us. I am Dr. Tiffany Smith, educator, curriculum designer, researcher, founder, and host of Educate Us. Thank you for joining. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Educate Us podcast. You're listening to episode 8, Building Multimodal Compositions, a special 2-part conversation. This is part 1, AI, Authenticity, and Authority. Be sure to join us for part 2, Designing Multimodal Projects. Throughout season 1, we've explored why curriculum must evolve. We've talked about how communities become classrooms and the importance of student identity and agency. We've also discussed the role of observation and inquiry in helping students make meaning of the world around them. This special 2-part episode brings those conversations together as we explore artificial intelligence and the teaching and learning associated with multimodal composition projects. Episode 8 features a fantastic conversation with educators representing both K-12 and higher education. Joining the conversation are K-12 English language arts educators, Scott Ramsey from Georgia and Rachel Martin from St. Louis. Higher education composition faculty, Natasha Moore from Illinois and Layla Goucher from St. Louis. Our special guest is Terri Webb from Georgia, an instructional technology leader whose expertise in digital learning and AI helps bridge technology and teaching and classroom innovation. The discussion was so dynamic, thoughtful, and engaging that I decided to divide it into 2 parts. This is part 1, where our conversation again focuses on artificial intelligence, authenticity, and authority. Our guests explore the ways AI is influencing writing, creativity, authorship, instruction, and student learning, while reflecting on both the opportunities and responsibilities that come with teaching in the age of artificial intelligence. Whether you're already integrating AI into your classroom or you're still exploring its possibilities, I hope this conversation encourages you to think critically about how emerging technologies are shaping the future of teaching and learning. Let's begin. Everybody is here.
Hey, ladies.
Thank you so much for joining. All right. So welcome back to the Educate Us podcast. Today's episode is titled Building the Final Multimodal Composition. So at the end of everything in the series, so hopefully you all have been watching the podcast, but at the end of everything in the series, we land here before we get into administration. So I have a conversation with a teacher who has a wealth of experience, who's bringing the perspective of the K-12 teacher and what they experience. And then I have a conversation with administrators, an administrator in Austria, an administrator in South Carolina, an administrator in New York, an administrator in St. Louis. And then that conversation is technically the end of the first season. So this is going to land really well. Terri, if you can join us, I'm sharing my screen. Use your phone, capture the QR code, and join us in the word cloud. We're talking about multimodal composition, so let's be multimodal. Let's have visual. Let's have oral. Let's have it. All right. I am so happy to have you all with us today. I do want to get started with some introductions. And since I'm meeting you, 3 of you, for the very first time, I will start and introduce myself real quick. Nothing real long. But I started this work in 99 at Lawrence Free State High School. I was a undergraduate student at the University of Kansas, and my very first role was a paraprofessional, where I was taking the curriculum that the teacher created and modifying it for students who couldn't successfully or be successful in the classroom. When I think back on that, it's kind of amazing how God set that up, because that's exactly what I do today. Since 2009, I've honed two careers. One in instructional design, which morphed into corporate learning and development. It started in higher education, but when I got to Atlanta, I started getting opportunities in the corporate field. I developed my own corporation. I started solidifying my own contracts with companies. I've designed curriculum for Kellogg, Northwestern, Regis College, Morehouse School of Medicine, Morehouse College. I mean, I can't name them all. I just can't. Florida International University. I designed the training for allocation of COVID across the state of Georgia through a partnership between EY and the state of Georgia. So just, a wealth of experience, and decided after I finally finished my doctorate. I just finished my doctorate on May 4th, 10 years of studying rhetoric and composition. I presented the field with a new pedagogical approach called a dual pedagogical approach, which focuses on the mind-body duality of Descartes or Plato or Aristotle. They all talk about this. Plato calls it the immaterial soul. So this nature that we have as human beings that's separate from our physical body. And those are the kind of conversations they were having during their time. So if we think about their time in history, that's what they were processing. When I finished in May, I decided I want a podcast. And I also want to build a curriculum for 12th graders, because I want to start having conversations across the entire educational spectrum, from kindergarten all the way through to higher education. And that's why I'm so happy to have you all here today, because that's what we have. We have K through 12 educators and higher education educators that are coming together to have a conversation about building multimodal composition. I'm so happy that you took the time to meet with me today. You just don't know how important that is. So that's a little bit about me. That's how I got to this project. And whoever wants to go next.
It's so funny when you started describing how you when you're talking about your dissertation, like what you presented, and you're talking about like the thoughts in people's heads. That is exactly how I came to this field as my freshman year in college. I remember reading Janet Emick's the composing processes of 12th graders. I'll never forget that essay. And I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. My little 18-year-old self made that decision in that class, reading that essay, and I've been on that like ever since. It's so funny. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like your story's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm Natasha Moore. Yeah, I'm Natasha Moore. I'm an English professor full-time at SWIC, Southwestern Illinois College. I teach all the writing courses there. Getting close to retirement, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, I know. It's like you have no idea how happy I am. When I realized it, I was like, wait, what? How old? I'm that old. I could do that. But yeah, I'm excited about that. But I'm excited to be here too. So I teach writing. Like I said, I started a company called BaseSpot that is my passion project, where I call it adult education rooted in Blackness, where I want to I want to return to community education, which is where I started my career in community education. So I want to return to community education when I retire. So, yeah, I'm excited about that.
Okay. Well, welcome. Where are you from, Natasha?
New Orleans.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm from New
Uh,
Orleans. I've been in St. Louis since November of '99, but I refuse to call this home. New Orleans is always gonna be my home, even though I never want to move back, but I'm gonna claim it as my home forever and ever and ever, and I go back every year. I
were
refuse to
you
lose my.
there? Were you there during Katrina?
I was not. However, I was the only person in my family who was not there. So
Mhm.
everyone came to me, and
Hmm.
we watched as our properties and houses all went underwater at the same time in
Hmm.
the living room. We watched it like a movie. I was like, oh, I don't think y'all going home.
I
Yeah.
empathize with you and your family on that, Natasha. I
Yeah.
feel weird when I come back to St. Louis and I don't know how to get around.
Mhm.
And that's so minute compared to what you endured.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're
But my family's
welcome.
doing well now. They're doing well. They all lost everything at that time, but they've since rebuilt. I have two dads, my dad and my stepdad, and they're not contractors, but they're both jack of all trades. And my
Hmm.
dad rebuilt his house, and my stepdad rebuilt all his houses. So,
Hmm.
and my brother-in-law, he is a contractor, and so he rebuilt his houses. So,
Hmm.
you know, that worked out well.
Anybody want to go next?
I'll jump right in since I'm so St. Louis, living in the ATL.
Yeah.
A little history for me. I lead instructional technology for DeKalb County School District. And when I think about multimodal composition, I think of it through the lens of a K-12 student. So we have our
Hmm.
digital natives in this space now. They come in with everything in their hands except for a sheet of paper and a pencil, which is a technology that we grew up on. But with the role, I currently see the challenge. I'm going to talk about the challenges first. The kids are ready to receive the assignments or whatever it is that we have to give them. However, the teachers are not ready to respond to those
Mm.
challenges. So when you
Mm.
think about instructional design and your space, Tiffany, is well, I could say Doc now, Dr. Smith. When we just talk
It's
about
Tiffany's.
your pathways in the educational arena and all the conversations we've had prior to, it's funny because your questions are always from that higher level. How have we even designed lessons? We talk about the design piece. How do we begin to think about what the current trends are with our students in order to I want to say create a level of success, because if I go in and give a student an assignment, but these kids know how to create a video, design a website, or whatever it is they're going to do to answer that question, why is it incorrect? Because it's not aligned to whatever that 19th century educational stream looks like. So, just coming from corporate, start off at Southwestern Bell wireless, understanding back then that the telephone book was that was our big thing of technology, moving now into seeing kids who have no clue about a telephone. They have no clue about the importance of alphabetizing things because of the fact that they don't need it. Technology does that for us. So when we think about multimodal composition, we should be at this point thinking about the ethical use of whatever it is we expect for our kids to
Mm.
do. What does that
Mm.
outcome look like? And then allowing that space to be open to whatever range of skills that are available to those kids in order to be successful. So, like I say, for me, it's all about starting with the end in mind, looking at our kids and what they have to offer culturally, skill based, just wherever they are, and receive it to allow them to show their level of success and understand that literacy piece in it, because that's all it is it's the language, and it's speaking from the tone and the choice of words and the choice of tools that our digital natives come to and they bring to us. So
Before we even move forward, I would love to hear from the ELA teachers. How do you feel about that comment?
Well,
How
I had
you
a
feel
quick
about
question.
that?
I heard her say that teachers are not ready, the children are ready, the students are ready. When they come in, they have their phones or laptops or what have you. In your tenure in your career, what have you seen where teachers are not ready, and why do you think that teachers are not ready to
Hmm.
move in this multimodal space that the students are already? I mean, practically most of them were born in this space, unlike we were. Why are they not ready, and how can we get them
I
So that's
love
a
that.
great question. That's a great
Hmm.
question. So my why they are not ready, it stems from my role is, so I'll tell you, I am a senior manager for instructional technology, right? We have in our district roughly 100,000 students, 15,000 staff members, and of those 15,000 staff members, about 8,000 of them are teachers, right? And so each year I push out a program called Ignite You. It's a professional learning series that's stemmed around the current trends in technology integration and student digital literacy. And so, in that space, I have to look at all of the tools that are part of our ecosystem. And when I say part of our ecosystem, tools that our school district has vetted, approved, and aligned to the curriculum, right? And so those tools are tools that our teachers are expected to use, and it's the tools that our students are expected to learn from. However,
Hmm.
if you go in a classroom, 9 times out of 10, that tool that we put place in that professional learning series is not a part of that teacher's lesson plan. Why? Because
Hmm.
they've gone to Teachers Pay Teachers, or they've gone to, hey, my homegirl taught this lesson, or I've been doing this lesson for 15 years. However, technology has changed, the needs of the students have changed, and the culture of our students have changed. And if you keep trying to force that same lesson down that student's throat because you don't feel like changing your lesson plan, you're not ready. And then I
Hmm.
look at my child who's 21. I've watched them, they've been my students, right? And now I've taught my son how to be digitally sound and understand the digital footprints and use whatever tools you have to make that's going to make you successful. But then he goes to a college course at a university, and the teacher tells him to write out your essay. Students, no one can leave this class until you write out this essay. And I'm going to proofread it. And after you proofread it, now you can go home and type it. Why did that teacher do that? She's afraid of AI. She's afraid of all of the things that our kids already know about. Instead of allowing that child, giving that child the skeleton, which is the structured assignment, taking that child and allowing that child to go home and use that skeleton with your rubric and the expected outcome, and reference those tools that you've used in order to make that child show a level of success, then that's where I come from with it. And so, and then switching that around, if they are using an AI, or when they are using AI or whatever tool that they're using, show them how to go ahead and mold it to make it what you expect for it to have. Instead of being that teacher that's saying, no, this is not what I put on my rubric, this is not on the assignment, so therefore you fail. And so that's why I say that some of our teachers are not ready. And I'm going to close with this one last thing. The teachers that are ready are the teachers that we're losing, because they're getting burnt out by recreating things that we expect for them to be placed in our 19th century environment. If you're in the
Hmm.
classroom right now, you have a textbook, you got your digital, you got your LMS. You're probably using Google Classroom, Canvas, or one of those things. But I bet you $1 million to a penny, your curriculum is not aligned to accept the different activities or the resources or the tools that those learning management systems or those digital tools can put in place for you. So we are losing our children. If you're in APS or in our district, they are paying someone right now to find out where those kids are. Why are we spending millions of dollars? Or I can get a half, I think the bonus is like $500,000. You're going to pay me $500,000 to go find some kids when all you have to do is bring them in based off of what their current interests are. we just have to think beyond where we are in that space. And so this is a perfect way to get the message out to our current trending teachers and leaders and all that, because I'm in single digits with retirement with you, Natasha. So go ahead and let's resolve this issue early. But that's where I'm at with the response.
Let me ask a
It's,
follow-up to that. I want to I'm sorry, real quick.
no,
Do
no,
you
go ahead.
have instructional designers or curriculum developers in place to support teachers with building curriculum that includes technology? Because a lot
My
of districts
department
can't
is.
afford it. So,
We do not. I have 13 staff members, and with those 13 staff members, they're all certified in instructional technology. But if you look at the Department of Education's report from last year before last, because they took it down, but one of the three major deficits was instructional design. As a leader, I expect for you to give me a lesson plan, and y'all know it takes forever to write a lesson plan. And then after I write the lesson plan, I expect for you to go inside of the LMS and design that lesson plan. I have no idea about color blindness, which colors should complement. I have no idea about how to turn a paragraph writing activity to a discussion board. I have no idea how to communicate to the parents what I'm expecting out of this lesson. All I have is a syllabus. I have 50 million professional development hours, because I know we just came back Monday. And so they're having you sit in all of these meetings saying top down what's expected. And then you have about 3 hours left to design your classroom. And then those kids are coming in. And when they come in, oh, by the way, little Johnny has an IEP. This one has a 504. This parent does not want
Jesus,
their child
Terri.
diagnosed. It's a lot, Tiff. It's a lot, Dr. Smith, when it comes and when we're thinking about the
Call me
classroom and readiness. No, I'm gonna keep calling you Doc because I love it.
Just call me Tiffany. Yeah. I
No,
even
that's
tell
what the
my
teachers are
I
supposed to
even
be
tell
for.
my students to call me Tiffany. So no, it's okay. But sorry, go ahead. My apologies,
No,
Scott.
no. I was gonna say that's the that's the job of teachers is to adapt and be flexible and try to meet the students where they are. And we're in this realm right now. We're in this space with multimodal and technology, especially with AI. Because when I got my specialist degree at Kennesaw State, that was there. I had one professor there that just came out front and was blunt about AI is here. It's not going anywhere. And as we can see over the last 2 3 years, it's version into every part of life that we experience. And so you can't run from it. You're going to have your percentage of students that are going to just lean on it as a crutch to try and cheat and to use it as shortcuts. However, it can be used as a tool if you teach them how to use it the right way and implementing it into the lessons and giving them ways to speak to it, train it, and what have you. It can definitely help them moving forward. Well, to your point, you're saying with the teachers are not ready, those who don't or are scared of AI or not prepared to, or think that all students they're clumping them in, thinking all students are going to use it to cheat on their essays, their and what have you. They're going to be the ones that are a little bit behind when you adopt it and you can frame it and have those
Mm-hmm.
conversations and pull it up on the screen and show them this is how you use it. These are the things that you do, and then kind of embed it into things that you're doing. I think that's the job of what teachers should be doing and adopting. I know, some that are on their way out, like 10 years and down, I get it. I've been in that space too. I have lessons that like I don't want to change it. However, you just take what you have and then just kind of mold it into using the technology to make it something that is relevant and engaging for all of the students that you have, because you got to meet all of them, no matter their ethnicity, nationality, or what have you. So it's the job of the teacher to be able to do that, or to try and cohort with other teachers that are doing it. It doesn't have to be massive. It can be nominal, but at least trying to move forward in that direction so that way you can reach your students.
Go
I
ahead and
love
tell
that.
us who you are, Scott. Tell us who you are. I
Okay.
agree. I agree with everything you shared about the need to be open to AI. I love that
Definitely.
input. Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Scott Ramsey. I'm originally from New York. Moved to Georgia, I say Atlanta, back in '99. Actually, '96. Been there since '96.
The Olympics. So you were here at
Yeah,
the
exactly.
real. Okay, I got
Two,
you.
2 weeks before the Olympics started, my wife and I moved down here.
Oh wow.
So I taught at APS for 2 years through Teach for America. I taught second grade and fourth grade. um, I'm 6'4", so like I'm walking around with all these little kids and what have you at my ankles. Um, I taught at a charter school up here in Canton for 5 years, and then I taught at Cherokee County Schools for 5 years. I'm taking this year off because I founded a couple of websites. One of them is Caliber, the other one is Spark Read. And to that point, I'm using an AI model in both of those. One to help teachers adapt lessons. They can put in lessons and adapt them for all of those IEPs and 504s and what have you to help them save time. The other one is just to help students with their reading comprehension, but using that model. So I'm embracing it to give them additional help and what have you. So
Plug your
that's where
website.
I'm
Do you
at.
have a
But I'll talk.
website, Scott? Do you have a
It's
website?
sparkread.net.
Yeah,
Sparkread.net.
drop it in the chat.
I will. I
I'm
will.
sorry.
I'm in the last 2 to 3% of getting it launched. I got a couple of back end things that work with. But again, getting a website built these days, you would have to pay coders and do all these things. And now they have apps. They have AI apps to build AI, like to build websites. And so I've been using those to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I've taught ELA honors 8th grade, 9th grade, honors 11th grade. I taught dramatic writing this past year. I got endorsed for dramatic writing. I've done some extra work on a couple of different shows and movies and what have you. So I enjoy like dramatic writing. It's fun. It's different, and that's a senior class that they had in Cherokee County. But primarily just taught ninth lit composition. So I like that space. I like that great because they're 8th graders transitioning. I know Dr. Smith and I talked about the transition when we had our phone call about students coming from middle school to high school and students leaving high school going to college. They're not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready for that next level. So I get a chance to get with them to kind of take a stronghold of them and kind of explain to them and show them the ropes and give them those skeletons and give them the bare bones of what they're going to
Mm-hmm.
expect to see when they get to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So that way, when they
Mm-hmm.
go down the hallway, that teacher is like, hey, what they was in your class? Well, they know what they're doing. I don't want you going to another class and embarrassing me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my wheelhouse right there. That's what I've been doing. So, but like I
I
said,
love
taking
that.
this year off so that way we can do that. We can get
It's
these
very
because I want to be
timely.
able to have a bigger impact on
Mm-hmm.
students outside of just the four walls that I'm in, that the 100+ students that you assigned me to teach, I can reach a bigger market by doing it this way and doing things like this. So I'm glad that Dr. Smith is doing this, and I'm glad that you all are here and having these conversations because it's important for us to be able to be mindful and to be armed with this information moving forward so that way we can not only help each other, but we can help the students that we come in contact with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can I plug in? I
Yeah.
did
Please
I
jump
was
in on the AI. Everybody jump in.
Most definitely. First thing, I was a Teach for America student as well, 2 years. I'll tell you a funny story. Those of you all from St. Louis. So I was a part of the Bill Clinton grant. Bill Clinton brought Teach for America in as a federally funded program. And so when the MetroLink opened in St. Louis, that was the first year AmeriCorps started, and I wrote the MetroLink with Bill Clinton. So that's my little plug. And
Wow.
after that, yeah, isn't that cool? And then
That
after
is
that, I
cool.
became a Teach for America mentor. That's where my educational foundation came from, and it also speaks to the need of education. That was over 20 years ago, but I was placed in the classroom, a third grade classroom, and the administrator told me, "I'll be right back." And so y'all know what that means when I'll be right back. I was in that class for 3 months. I just wrote an article about this.
Oh,
This is so
wow.
funny you said that. And it showed where back then they were struggling with maintaining teachers because of the
Mm-hmm.
fact that that's when the transition of teaching was starting to take place. So congratulations. I love that. But you said something about 10th and 11th graders and that grade level where that's where we need to make sure that we're engaging them. I think we need to go down to the elementary level because when you think about AI right now, we're working with our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. They're worried about the lower levels because they have it. They understand the AI. They're using it, and quite frankly, they're saying they're bored with it because we're not showing them the next level of that work. So when you think about those foundational skills, those literacy skills, the first thing you lose when you dealing with AI is the emotion from it. So I encourage you as an ELA designer, builder, educator, step back all the way to that kindergarten, that first grade rim, and start talking about emotions and that emotional intelligence space as it relates to literacy. Not just write, draw a picture. How do you feel? And then how do you take that image and bring it to life and start educating our kids on the effects of the emotions behind the colors they chose? When I teach web design, I go first to, oh, why did you choose purple? Why did you choose red? Why did you choose these colors? And you will hear the outcome from the little kids or the littles as we call it is so devastating and it's eye-opening because we expect you all to catch up at high school on all of the foundational things that we missed at the lower level. So with your company, encouraging you to first make sure that as you are building it, looking at the instructional lens, because I look at vendors all day long and they build this powerful tool, but then there's no connection between the school system. That's the problem. And that's if you want to get your money right and get your tool in that space, speak the language. That's what you want, right?
No. Hey,
Yeah, put that in right and start
not
looking
a
at
game. It's
yeah,
not a game.
it's not a game. This is what the foundation of right now in my district. If you notice you'll see my background. It says two paths used to bridge one gap in teaching, learning, and technology. That's what I'm working on. If you look to the left, you're going to see the teachers on one side. That's teaching and learning. They feel that they know everything. They do because that's their craft. But then on this side, we understand the technology side. So we're spending more wheels with wordsmithing or trying to get the teaching and learning department to show that they're superior is versus just going ahead and putting these things into action. So teaching AI and literacy, this is just talking about foundational words, taking it back to that whole curriculum piece that we need to show them. And then right here, the Savvy EdTech Leader, this tool is teaching you how to do what I just explained. Put your dollars towards the mouth and the instruction so that teaching and learning will understand the why and bridge the gap. We got to get out of the textbook phase and go ahead and give them what we know that they should have, but you got to be crafty and speak the teaching and learning language in order to take it to the next level. So,
yeah, you have to embed, and you really do want to embed because that foundational information is still very important to their learning.
We're gonna pause on this one, y'all. Come on, Layla.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far, about faculty, because I'm at a community college. Yeah, not everyone is embracing AI at all. It's a real hot potato. And for us at my institution, we have Turnitin, which measures, the AI percentage of a document. Something else that happens though is I've had students tell on each other because one doesn't want someone else, like if they think something looks like AI, I'll have someone email me and say, hey, I just peer reviewed this paper and I think it's AI and I wrote my own paper and I don't want that person getting credit when I want more credit. They're going to get credit. So it's like, it's, you know, definitely I agree faculty should constantly seek professional development. And that's something I do definitely. And we do have some AI tools coming up in our online courses this fall that I was telling Tiffany earlier. I think that's going to cause some consternation for people who are already just challenged by this situation. For me, I never fail a student because of excessive AI use. I just say, go to the writing center, or, take what you've got, rewrite it so that I can hear your voice. Because that's the other thing people don't, by people, I mean students, adult students who are using it excessively. You don't want to lose your own voice. If it ends up sounding like the person next to you, which sounds like the person next to you, then your real thoughts and feelings, and the colors, as Terri was saying, that emotional aspect of it, just by choosing certain vocabulary over others, it really tells it shows our voice, and it can still be academic and professional. But the bigger picture for me right now, I've asked this question for the past probably 2 years, is what do employers want to see at the end of all of this, because, and I get a little bit of feedback from healthcare, like healthcare. I've heard conversations of, well, we want to use AI definitely to help us, better identify conditions, and, powerful AI can help us diagnose maybe conditions we never have been able to before, and that's wonderful. But at the same time, you don't want to just plug some stuff in and have ChatGPT giving an answer and then go give somebody a prescription. You want to make sure that, because ChatGPT is not always reliable. So you still want to have some kind of reliability. Layla Goshi, I teach at St. Louis Community College. Been involved with the college one way or another since 1999, actually. Moved here in 96 in St. Louis. So I relate to the idea of having another home. I grew up in North Texas and Dallas. And I got my master's, I have two masters, one in history and one in creative writing. But when I got my job full time as a composition teacher, I decided I didn't understand how to teach thinking. So coming back to that whole idea of thinking. So I could have gone off somewhere to get a PhD in English, but I decided to get a PhD in teaching and learning because and to use literacy as my focus, so that I really understood how to teach literacy to adults. And how I got into this was, I was in corporate too. I worked for a bank for 13 years and started feeling like there's got to be more than this. So I started volunteering as a literacy tutor to adults, who either their parents were migrant farm workers or they grew up in the foster system or whatever, but they just never gained literacy, and so that's how I got hooked into teaching, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from. So professional development for teachers is definitely a passion of mine, and but I'm just kind of feeling like for myself, we can talk about all of this and we used to be able to tell students what employers want. Right now, I'm not sure I know what employers want. If they're hiring, that's the other situation. We've got, there's a serious hiring shortage going on right now too. So, but maybe that's another topic. But that's sort of where I'm coming from. I'd like to close the loop on the topic of AI and multimodal. I can see multimodal being applicable in terms of, managing websites, managing communications for companies. But beyond that, what do employers want to see now? So I'll leave it there and see what you all think.
I want to give Rachel a chance to introduce herself, so I'm not going to jump in. But let's circle back on that, Layla, because I have been in the corporations, and I do have an idea of what they want.
So, whoo, Lord, okay.
Yes,
so
please go.
Background to like understand what I'm going to say and how it connects together. So, I've been in the classroom since 2003, like in the classroom teaching students, human beings since 2003. I take pride in that because people come to the classroom for a year, jump out, become a principal, tell you what to do. Baby, I've been doing it since 2003. Every school year since 2003, I've been having kids in front of me teaching them. Okay.
Since when? Since when?
2003.
It's been 23. It's been 23 years. It's been every 23 years.
Every August since 2003, huh? I done had kids in front of me. My own classroom, huh? Okay. All right. 2003. And so I know some of you are from St. Louis, some of you are aren't. I have to start out. Let me kick it off with boop, boop. I've been doing this since, okay.
No doubt.
I grew up in St. Louis City. I went to St. Louis Public Schools. I went to an HBCU. I went to Jackson State. Came back home, went to Webster for my master's, got another master's from Lindenwood. I wanted to go and get my PhD in English. I just never did, but my undergrad is in English. So I started off at a charter school for 2 years, working with 7th grade, never again. Then I moved to North County. I taught out there for 15 years. And then I moved to, I guess you can consider Midwest County that I've been for the last 8 years. So I had like different experiences in different places. And I guess I'm one of those teachers that I'm open to learning how to teach kids how to use AI, but I'm also just disillusioned by it a little bit. Like again, like we've been teaching for a long time. So we remember before cell phones weren't even an issue in the classroom. Remember where there were no cell phones to tell kids to put away. And now the state of Missouri has this rule where there are no cell phones in the classroom. It's like a whole thing they put in Congress or Missouri, whatever the, I don't know, but they can't have cell phones in the classroom. And so I think most schools are one-to-one now, especially since after COVID, schools are one-to-one. So our students are moving from Google Chromebooks, and next year everybody's getting an iPad. Every student in the district is getting an iPad. So we got to switching over to technology. So I really want some tips and tricks on how to teach them how to use AI. What word am I looking for? Ethically use AI. I'm just over it. Like when you've been reading essays since 2003, huh? I don't want to read computer essays, and I feel like a hypocrite because I use AI. I talk to AI every day because my brain, I have so much going on. I have to brain dump so I won't get on my husband's nerves or get on my friend's nerves. I just brain dump to AI, so I just blah, 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 blah. So, but because I know how to use it ethically, I would love to transport that skill to my kids. But I think I'm one of those educators that you talk about that's not ready. I don't know how to do it. I hate reading an essay and it's so generic and thematic and boring because it just, so I'm in this little weird place in the middle. So I'm going to pick up that book that you keep showing. I'm seriously going to pick that book up and fit, like, how do I mold them to? Because I'm the teacher we write by hand in my class, baby. Pencil, pen. I'm making more work for myself, I know, but I'm there with it. And I can retire in 8 years because I started teaching right after college. I'm going to retire right when they say I can retire. I'm going to be one of them 50-some-year-olds already retired. Out of there, bye. But I am open to learning new things. I am open to learning how to teach my kids to use it ethically. I just don't know what to do, y'all. So that's where I am with it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put
hold
something
on. Before I let the tech person talk, I'm going to say this. You are ready. You're ready because you're already open to wanting to do it. Mm-hmm. You're already open to doing it. You are already looking at your class and going, yo, I use this every day. How you tell them or how you teach them how to use it is how you use it. Yep. What do you do ethically when you talk to it? How do you use it when you are trying to build something or to find out something or problem solve something? What are the ways that you formulate and construct your sentences and certain syntax that gets the results that you want. My wife has a relationship with chat. Like sometimes she just be talking and I'm like, who you talking to? She's like, me and chat got a little something going on, baby. Because she has her own business. And so they're going back and forth all day long. So first and foremost, take what you're already doing and use that to tell them, because a lot of the students you have the same conundrums or questions or doing some of the same things, maybe on a lower level, but they need to know exactly what to say in the way that they say it, and how they know how to say it. And by you telling them and giving them that, they'll start adapting their language and the way that they're using it to be more efficient. So I just wanted to throw that in there real quick. Don't say that you're not ready. You're ready because you're already open to wanting to do it and you use it. So just use what you're already doing, and because that's authenticity at its highest level.
Okay.
Right there.
I would even take it a step further and say, have a conversation with them about what authenticity is. So ask them, what do because what happens in those moments, especially if we're trying to figure out who's using a AI generated paper or not, is they begin to question their own integrity when it comes to how they're operating with it. They never want to remove themselves from being the authority. And in situations where they're not an authority on something, you are the authority. So if they need to fact check something with AI that you're teaching them, paragraph structure, I don't know, whatever it is, then they fact check it with you. You can become the authority. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In podcast episode number 2, they talk about how they're using AI. I use it as a conversational tool for my students, almost like a writing center coach kind of thing.
Okay.
So they're, and I give them the scripting because, AI it depends on what you feed AI, what, they do. So I give them the scripting so they know what to say and they can start generating certain responses based on me being the authority and knowing what result I want them to come to. So anybody else jump in with your.
No, I wanted to make a quick observation as we're talking about authenticity and authority and so on, that I've just noticed online, there's a lot of crazy stuff and hoaxing and everything going on. But I really do notice this undercurrent of people still wanting that authenticity. Because I'll see like some big breaking news thing, and I'll see people responding saying, "Well, where did you get this? Where'd you get this source? Did you?"
I mean, don't we all want authenticity? Like if your name is next to it, I want to know that you created.
There's some.
How do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like?
I don't think when it comes to like here's something that I've noticed. Because I teach all writing classes, I've noticed since AI on my online classes, 95% of every paper I get is AI generated. So I ended up, instead of fighting it, I did a couple of different things.
Okay.
First, I have 2 different rubrics. Okay. I have a rubric for AI generated work and I have a rubric for original work. Okay. And I explained to them that I will allow you to use AI if you take the time to learn how to use it right. And if you go through the iterative process to go back and forth with, to get the result that you want. And if you use AI generate, if you let AI do your thing, but you went back and forth, the highest you can get is a C, because AI is the sum of the averages, and a C will get you out of this class. Okay, and then that's the highest though. That's like when you did the AI generated the paper and it's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Normally AI doesn't generate perfect stuff because they don't know how to prompt it well, which means that they didn't, what I'm saying? They have to do the work to learn prompting and the critical thinking. The other thing I've noticed though when I did that is that with Common Core, see, I've never taught K-12, but I get a lot of the K-12 to me, right? But what I've noticed is that with Common Core, the way that Common Core teaches writing, my very best students that came out of the Common Core curriculum write like AI, which sucks. You know what I'm saying? So, and the other thing is we have a generation of students now that literally grew up typing instead of writing. Okay. Tell you what that means. They have learned like they grew up with autocorrect. So they are automatically used to when autocorrect come up, tab, autocorrect come up, tab. So they don't even think about it anymore. So what happens is autocorrect is getting more and more extensive as AI takes over more and more predictive. So we have to teach, as teachers, we have to know what AI is ourselves and learn it and learn how to recognize it and learn how to use it ourselves. Because what I noticed is as the texts get more and more predictive and the predictions get more and more accurate, students are tabbing through the papers, which means that the AI is literally writing the papers and the students think they wrote the paper. You see what I'm saying? And they will argue you, damn, I wrote this. And I explained to them, okay.
Say, I put something in the chat that I use when teaching about technology altogether. And since then, it has enhanced. There's something called the SAMR model. Rachel, I'm not familiar. I don't know if have you all heard of the SAMR model? So when you think of yeah, so the SAMR model, the goal when teaching is to get to that DOK4, right? And on the SAMR side of it, we call it teaching above the line. So the first thing you need to do, the first thing you should do is learn about what you're currently doing, and then you start with that S. That S is substitution. So you just said you are tired of seeing those papers being written. In my class, don't write a paper. We always start the first day of school with telling a story. It could be draw a picture, use a video, whatever it was. How did you even make it to school? And I used to teach second grade in St. Louis, starting off at a charter school. And I taught St. Louis Public, all of those places. But what I found was we never personalize anything we do. We go straight into teaching, telling them this is what you should learn, and that's it. But you don't know the kid. I'm an oral person. I can talk you up and down all around, but when you tell me to stop and do the work, I can't do it because I have not orally expressed myself in order to get that understanding of the outcome that you expect. So once you start off the school year with your kids, start looking at what you currently do, which is writing those papers, and how can you substitute them with the use of technology, but building them up to substitution. We talked about the autocorrect. Don't talk about the autocorrect. Talk about that red squiggly line. Because when you get to the prompting part of AI, if you don't have the literacy or the reading comprehension piece, the outcome of AI is pointless.
Right.
So think about your curriculum, think about a thematic unit, go back to the thematic unit, come on, and then what is your theme is going to be? What is your focus? So now we've substituted, guys, writing this paper from to typing the paper, that's a substitution, to creating a video. Think about if I'm creating this video, there's a feature in video writing that has transcription, right? If I'm talking, I'm not worried about what I'm saying. Like Doc said, don't worry about what you say. I can edit it. So here you are. Now you've gone from substitution to modification. That's the second level because I've given you this video. Okay, now that I've given you the video, the technology transcribed it for you, and the technology gonna take your fintus and spell them wrong, your uhs, your thers, all those that conversation we have, and you're ready to write. And no longer are you grading that paper because I don't grade papers. I hate grading papers. Now that child is doing what we call self-reflection. Right? Because as I write down, you have them editing this paper and they're going to hear that it don't make no sense because you're speaking that correct English to them while you're in the classroom, but still tapping into their culture. Meaning you're talking to them the way they're talking to them, but then you're correcting those words and they physically see it in front of them because you're telling them, stop saying fintu. Or you're replacing that word to fintu. So now we're moving from DOK1 to DOK2. That's your modification. We're getting above the line because now I shouldn't have to tell you to write a video. I should be able to tell you have researched the effects of, I don't know, the tornado from St. Louis. What are some things that you encounter?
Raining here right now, by the way.
It's raining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to
Go
tap
ahead.
into so many more experiences beyond learning about a tornado. You're going to hear about the kids who are still homeless. You're going to hear about the kids that don't know what to write because of the fact that they're still in that space. You get to learn, you get to know your kids, right? And now we're moving up to DOK4, which is your R, redefinition. I don't care about the tornado. What would you have done if you had the control of turning on that alarm or that siren? So that means you need to research the role of the politician in order to decide how you can make those decisions. So you see how you're taking that one lesson plan that you start off with in August, and now that bad boy is your whole lesson for the year. And all you're doing is using, what are we talking about? We're talking about those various learning modalities that's going to make your class engaging. And along the way, Rachel, what she's going to do is she's going to learn how she's using AI and start giving them those ethical tidbits to support them. So when I see your paper, I don't want to hear what Tiffany said because you Googled her last words. I want to hear, how do you feel? And your rubric is going to be a feelings rubric. We're not even in instructions yet. When you read this, do you find yourself in this writing? When you read this, does this make sense? Do we even have palm trees in St. Louis that blew in front of your yard? Come on. What are those things that they need to understand in order to get the point across that this is you? This is what represents you. And at the end, if you're not in this space, we don't want to deal with you. So my
See, that's
approach
the thing that you bring to the equation, Terri, is that agency again, is what you're
Mhm.
bringing. So when you're thinking about how you're using AI, you always want to be thinking about how that agency is showing up, how that self-efficacy is showing up in the work that they're doing. And the other thing I heard in what you shared was real world learning.
Yes.
So we're not just having conversations about AI in the classroom or what's happening in the classroom. We're thinking about it within the larger ecosystem that we all belong to, right? So those are the kind of things that I definitely think we should do when we're focusing on AI. We should be having conversations with them. We should be create an ethics chart with them that you all,
This
embody together, and revisit it as you're using it, especially if you do get a paper where they've clearly copied the information from the internet. And not to create any punitive justice, be clear, but to reinforce this concept of self-agency, self-accountability, because they're a part of that equation. Thank you for listening to part one of this special two-part conversation. Artificial intelligence is changing education, but our responsibility as educators remains the same. We must help students think critically, communicate authentically, and engage meaningfully with the world. Those are conversations worth continuing. In part two, designing multimodal projects, we'll move from ideas to implementation as our guests share classroom experiences. They'll discuss the realities of designing multimodal projects, and they'll offer practical inspiration for creating meaningful learning experiences. I hope you'll join us for part two, designing multimodal projects. Until then, thank you for listening to Educate Us. Thank you for listening to Educate Us. Educate Us is a podcast and learning collective of TMS Visionary Group. All podcast content is protected by copyright. Copyright 2026 TMS Visionary Group, all rights reserved. New episodes are released every Monday. Thank you for joining the conversation.